Oh, Nick Wright now joining us patiently. By the way, if you just missed it, Joy and I talking about the transfer portal and players getting paid, and Nick Wright, Mercedes-Benz Best or Nothing, joining us. All right, Nick, do you have any thoughts on our little discussion about transfer portal and all that stuff?
Yeah, I heard, you were talking with one of, your many important nameless friends about the concern about Texas paying offensive linemen $50,000 apiece across the board. And I thought your friend, raised some good concerns. Like, you continue down that road, and all of a sudden, we're going to live in a world where all the five-star recruits just go to a handful of schools like Alabama, Ohio State, LSU. We already live in that world. This idea, Oregon State wasn't getting any of them players anyway, Colin. This idea that, Oregon State's going to be left out in the wilderness. They've been out in the wilderness since you lived there. So this is just the players getting money. It's fine. But we can move on. You covered it.
That's a very good point. So, Steph, I was arguing earlier the idea that Steph wouldn't work in the 80s, and I'm like, that's funny. The reason Larry Bird separated from every forward was he could shoot, not because he was a tough guy, which he was. And so I love Steph. I think he would have worked forever. I think great players work in any era. He's smart. I think shooting in basketball is like throwing 100 miles an hour as a pitcher in baseball. It's timeless. You'll always look for people that can do that. Your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I also am just, it never ceases to amaze me the lengths that folks have gone to act like basketball in the 80s was some version of the Roman gladiators with tigers attacking you with a few jump shots mixed in. This idea that basketball in the 80s, that it has transformed so much like boxing. Like, hey, boxing used to be 110 rounds. You did it bare-knuckled, and you knew you won because the other guy died. Now they have gloves on, and it's 12 rounds. It's soft. Basketball in the 80s was slightly more physical with far worse athletes playing it.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yes.
The idea that Steph Curry wouldn't be great any time is so stupid. Here's the thing that I think is most impressive about Steph. We live in the era of the sports debate. He is one of the only undebatable things. Greatest shooter ever can't be debated, Colin. Yep. We debate greatest player ever. If you asked 100 people who's the greatest quarterback ever, Brady would win, but you would have people that would argue Peyton Manning. No, he was just better. I'm sorry, I don't care about the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Some might argue Montana. There's greatest baseball player ever. There's far from a consensus. Shooting is the essence of basketball. And the greatest to ever do it, it's unanimously agreed upon. That, to me, is one of the most, I guess he joined Secretariat and Wayne Gretzky as the only unanimously agreed upon GOATs. So to me, it's pretty impressive.
Hey, Lakers moving off Westbrook. You know where I stand on Westbrook. I did think the Laker fit was okay because they're old and he'd give them minutes in production, and LeBron didn't want to play 82 games, but there are rumors now, strong ones, it's not going to work. Your thoughts?
All right, so can I try a Colin Cowherd analogy on for size? Now,
Sure.
Many people have ruined their career trying to go down this path and failing, so I'm going to do my best here.
All right.
But to me, Russ is something like a forklift, and here's what I mean. If you have to move a giant pallet of bottled water at Costco, there is not a single thing you'd rather have than a forklift. You want a Rolls Royce, a Maybach? Nope, they're actually terrible for that. But it's also the only thing it can do.
Yeah.
The last 5 years, if you give me a collection of mediocre to bad NBA players, say I can add one star to that team, Russ might be my number one pick. Give me the bad Oklahoma City Thunder team. He'll get them to 42 wins in the playoffs. Put him anywhere with bad talent, he can carry them. The problem is that's all he can do at this point. You put him with other excellent players, not only does he not make them better, he might make things worse.
He does.
Which is why all of a sudden, there is no logical basketball argument that on their own, Buddy Hield is better than Russell Westbrook. But if you said one of them's going to have to be the best guy on a bad team, if Buddy Hield's the best player on your team, I mean, he's a sixth man on a bad team as is. You're totally screwed. Russ can make you relevant. But if you have other really good players on it, does he help you? Does he maybe hurt you? That's the concern there for this point of his career, and it's a shame, but I think that's where he's at.
OBJ, we were saying this in the staff meeting this morning. It does not look good for Cleveland or the quarterback. It's one thing that Stephon Diggs was great in Minneapolis with the Vikings. He just got better in Buffalo. You're like, okay, well, Josh Allen's better than Kirk Cousins. It's another thing that OBJ never worked at all in Cleveland, and now suddenly he's really good in L.A., and he's open all the time, and the quarterback gets him the ball, and he's a touchdown a game guy. And it's like, I'm not going to mention that quarterback's name, but it's like, I think in the locker room in Cleveland, there's a lot of players saying, bruh, we got the wrong guy at the most important position. I think OBJ is loved by players, including Cleveland players.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack here. One is, has my pal Baker Mayfield joined the old place, my former network, and the shall not be named category?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that. Like, it is Cleveland and the quarterback, whomever that quarterback may be. Yeah, no, it's a bad look. I tweeted during the game, Odell's daddy was right. Because he sure looks like he was right. I mean, Odell's good again.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
he's
open.
catching touchdown passes. He's open. They're getting him the ball. You saw the touchdown pass was one thing, but that little drag route that he took, and then all of a sudden he's running for an extra 35 yards. I'm like, I remember that guy. I haven't seen that guy. The only play close to that we saw from him seemingly his whole time in Cleveland was that game against Dallas where he did it at the end, and that was on a reverse where they didn't even throw him the ball. They just tossed it to him in the backfield and he ran. So, yeah, I think Odell's got, a lot of football left in him if he can get healthy.
Yeah.
And I do think Odell's success here it doesn't look good for, he who shall not be named and the rest of his teammates in Cleveland and coaching staff.
You did bring up an interesting point. You really made me, I'm kind of distracted. We go back to the very first thing you said. My concern about is just like pay the players whatever you want to play them is that there's just no regulations. It's Wall Street with no regulations, and I don't trust rich guys with no regulations. Now, Nick's going to say, but you're a rich guy. I don't trust me. But you do make a good point where all the best players go to 12 programs anywhere. So who cares? It's a very good point.
Well, and one could argue that they're not going to. You might be the biggest schools. It might pay the best guys, but they're not going to pay more guys than they have starting spots or roster spots for. So this might actually lead to more equality. As far as who gets players, because the fact of the matter is this. 5-star recruits, there is the rare exception. I saw Jackson State with Deion just got the number one player in the country. But 5-star recruits, for my entire life, 80% of them have gone to the same 10 schools. So, there has never been fairness in who gets the best players in college football. So I think it's fine. And by the way, I typically don't trust rich guys, but you once upon a time, Colin Cowherd, offered to sponsor me in thousands of dollars in poker losses, so I'll always trust you, my friend. Special place in my heart.
Good, Nick, the great Nick Wright. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.